Could the Sox possibly look into bringing in this former Bronx All-Star? What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to Red Seat Radio. My name is Corbin. The guessing game for what the Red Sox roster looks like in the next few weeks continues. It has been basically an entire month since the Red Sox made their last move in trading Chris Sale. And the question is, where do the Red Sox go next if there is another place to go? One of the options for this team is to look into bringing in a right-handed power bat. And one of the options on the market right now is former Yankee All-Star Gary Sanchez. So what we are going to do in today's videos, we're going to break down the possibility of the Red Sox targeting one Gary Sanchez. We're going to talk about some reasons why the Red Sox might be interested, some of the reasons why the Red Sox may avoid Gary Sanchez. We're going to talk about what a possible contract looks like for Gary and how that fits into everything. And we're going to be talking about what his impact on the Red Sox could look like. But before we get into that, do me a favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. Helps these videos out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one. Let's get into it. The question of where Gary Sanchez could fit into the Boston Red Sox is a really interesting one because so far in his career, Gary Sanchez has been really fascinating. Overall, when you take a look at his career, which he played parts of 9 seasons in, he's been an above-average producer at the plate with a total average of .225, a .309 on base percentage, and a .469 slug, good for a .109 OPS plus, or about 9% better than the average hitter in the game during that time span. He also was averaging just over 21 home runs a season throughout those 9 years. Gary Sanchez very clearly is a power forward type player. He's not a guy who's going to get on base a lot, but he could provide a whole lot of power to this Red Sox lineup. The question is, what does his career look like from here? Because last year, he did have a bit of a resurgence. Between the years of 2020 and 2022, Sanchez really fell off in terms of his production. During that time span, he had just a 195 average with a 287 on base percentage and a 394 slug, good for just an 89 OPS plus, or about 11% below the league average production during that time span. He was not very good from 2020 to 2022, which was a stark difference from the beginning of his career. However, going into 2023, he started off with the Mets, and that didn't go very well, and was eventually picked up by the San Diego Padres, where he was able to put it back together a bit. Still not giving you that high average value, slashing 218 with a 292 on base percentage, but he was able to give you a lot of power. A 500 slug during that time, which led to a 116 OPS plus, or once again 16% above league average production. What Gary Sanchez could give the Red Sox certainly is not high average, certainly is not the possibility of a guy who's in the middle of your order, who's not going to strike out a ton. He's not going to be Justin Turner for the Red Sox. He has never been a high average player outside of just one season back in 2017, but he could provide some needed power for this lineup. He has always hit well at Fenway Park. In 33 games, he's a 250 average with a 333 on base percentage and a really steep 548 slug, good for a 125 OPS plus. In that 33 games, he also has 9 home runs and 27 RBIs. If he was able to maintain this level of production at Fenway over the course of a season, which would be 81 games in a Red Sox uniform, what you'd be looking at is the possible 22 home runs all at home and something like 66 RBIs. That's a ton of production from the right-hand side, something the Red Sox could use in their lineup. So in terms of why the Red Sox might be interested in Gary Sanchez, it's right there. The Red Sox could use some right-handed power, some middle-of-the-order type power. Gary Sanchez would provide that, especially with how well he's played at Fenway Park. However, there is another side of the coin here, and that is the question marks. Gary Sanchez went from being really productive to not at all productive, back to being productive over the course of his 9 seasons, and that's a lot of question marks to add on to the already pile of question marks in terms of right-handed hitters for the Red Sox in 2024. When you look at who the Red Sox have in terms of right-handed power right now, they've got Tyler O'Neill and Trevor Story, who both have their own question marks as well. Would Gary Sanchez be a solution to this problem, or would he add more question marks with potential solutions to already a ton of question marks with potential solutions, right? It's a whole lot of questions and solutions, I know, but when you're looking at it from a Red Sox perspective, perspective, is this enough to say, yeah, okay, he had those down years in 2020, 2022. He resurged in 23. We think we can build off of that in 2024 and make him a really productive member of this lineup. I'm not entirely sure, and to me, that's the biggest question surrounding Gary. But there are other things to look at as well. In terms of versatility, the Red Sox have been looking at versatility at the DH spot, basically even before Craig Breslow was a part of this organization. In terms of what Gary Sanchez could bring there, he does have some versatility, but not a ton. He's played 3 games at first base in his career, and mainly when on the field, manning the catching position where, like his career at the plate, he's been very up and down. Pitchers have really liked throwing to him in the past. There have been some notable names, and most notably recently, that name has been Blake Snell, where in San Diego, Gary Sanchez was essentially Blake Snell's personal catcher. He's also had his issues as well, leading the league in pass balls 3 separate times throughout his career, and again, it's been really up and down. There have been seasons where Gary Sanchez has been well below average when it comes to defensive runs saved, and there's been seasons where he's been well above average when it comes to defensive runs saved, overall averaging out to -5 defensive runs saved throughout his career, which is well below the average in terms of catching, which would be 0. So overall, he's a below average catcher defensively, but again, when you look at potential there is some potential for him to be a solid catcher behind the plate, and pitchers still like throwing to him despite the pass ball issues, and that's a really big thing. Now, when you're looking at the Red Sox situation, yes, he's not going to be able to play all over the field like a guy like Adam Duvall or Justin Turner would be able to do, but the Red Sox pretty quietly don't seem super satisfied with their catching situation right now. I don't think the problem's with Connor Wong, but Rhys McGuire, I think everyone can agree, feels like just sort of a placeholder for Kyle Teel. On top of that, they also invited a bunch of non-roster catchers to their spring training. This could indicate that the Red Sox aren't entirely pumped about the tandem of Connor Wong and Rhys McGuire going into 2024. Bringing in someone like Gary Sanchez, who has legitimate big league catching experience and some successful big league catching experience, while limits him on the field, also allows the Red Sox to play around with their tandem a little bit. Maybe you are able to utilize Rhys McGuire less, or maybe that's a piece that you're now willing to move off of now that you have Gary Sanchez in the fold. Now, honestly, personally, I wouldn't trust Gary Sanchez as an everyday catcher. I don't think the Red Sox would trust him as an everyday catcher, but it does add a layer to the potential fit with Gary. And speaking of potential fits, one of the big reasons I think the Red Sox could try and target a Gary Sanchez contract is because of his cost. We all know that the Red Sox aren't looking to spend big money this offseason, with their payroll currently at around $200 million, a little bit more, a little bit less, depending on what projections you're looking at, and they're trying to stay under or around $225 million, which is, again, as we all know, well below the first luxury tax threshold of $237 million. If they truly do still want to add multiple pieces to this roster before going into 2024, which we don't have any confirmation of, I'm just currently making an assumption that they still want to add players. Gary Sanchez is currently projected to make a 1-year, $7 million deal. That fits right into where the Red Sox current budget's at, because what it does is allow you to add in both the lineup and the rotation. When you're taking a look at the guys who could be potential impact right-handed bats left on the market, guys like Adam Duvall, Justin Turner, and Jorge Soler, Gary Sanchez of those options, who does fall into the category of potential impact right-handed bats, is definitely the cheapest option, which right now is music to FSG's ears, right? They don't want to spend any money. Gary Sanchez wouldn't really cost a lot. He wouldn't be a long-term contract, which is another thing the Red Sox appear to be looking at avoiding. He would be a stopgap option that allows you some flexibility at the catcher position and allows you to sort of supplement this team in other areas without spending like the Red Sox should spend. So when you're looking at why the Red Sox could and might not be interested in Gary Sanchez, there's two sides to the coin. He could be an impact right-handed bat that allows you to place him in the middle of this order, gives Rafael Devers, Tristan Casas at the minimum some protection, really sort of evens out this lineup, gives you that versatility behind the plate, allows you to play around with now a trio of catchers, and he's a cheap, expendable option that the Red Sox seem to be really attracted to over the last couple of years. overall, when we're looking at the possibility of the Red Sox targeting Gary Sanchez, I think there's a very real world in which they are actually at least considering bringing him in here. I think looking at Gary Sanchez, he doesn't move the needle for me. I don't think he's going to move the needle for any of you guys, and I'm sure that's what a lot of these comments are going to be, as bringing him in would only really give you, best case scenario, 1 or 2 more projected wins than you were expecting to get going into the 2024 season. But you look at the possibilities of the reasons for this fit. It's not perfect. He's not a perfect fit, but you could sort of make him work a little bit, especially if he can continue to be that productive player that we saw in San Diego last year. If you could get that Gary Sanchez, or the Gary Sanchez you saw at Fenway Park for 81 games, that is a middle of the order bat at a cost-controlled situation. I think that's something the Red Sox would be really interested in. Personally, I don't love the idea of Gary Sanchez in Fenway. I would much rather them go back out and spend an extra $3 or $4 million to get Justin Turner, Adam Duvall, maybe even $5 or $6 million to bring in Jorge Soler, because I think they could impact this Red Sox lineup more, both on the field and off the field. But I'm not in charge of the Red Sox, and honestly, I don't know what direction they're going in. And based on everything we have seen from the Red Sox this offseason, Gary Sanchez feels like someone they would be really interested in, but that's just my opinion. So let me know in the comment section down below, what do you think about the possibility of Gary Sanchez? Do you think this is someone the Red Sox should or would target? Do you like the idea of Gary Sanchez in a Red Sox uniform, or would you prefer someone else? Let me know all your thoughts on the possibility of the Red Sox targeting Gary Sanchez in the comment section down below. As always, if you made it to the end of this video, do me a favor. Make sure you guys have hit that subscribe button if you haven't already. If you're new here, we talk Red Sox content almost every single day. Also, make sure you guys have hit the like button on this video as well. Helps these videos out a ton, and it would mean a lot to me. Thank you all very much for clicking on this one, and I will see you in the Red Seats.